Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident spider anarchist of the pod, DL. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm like the opposite of an anarchist, though. Should have said like spider capitalist, spider laissez-faire,
It's ironic.
economic policy.
Yeah, I went full irony on this
Yeah, fair enough.
one. Sitting over there with all your white privilege.
Yes, spider, libertarian maybe.
You can be whichever spider version you want to be, mate. How are you? What have you been up to?
I've been hanging out, dude. Just honestly, I've been doing a lot of stuff that you told me not to do.
Oh, wow.
Watching a lot of things you told me not to watch.
Wow.
I don't know why. I guess I just don't care for your opinion. I don't know why we have a podcast together, but I gave you multiple recommendations. I said, fuck you.
It's the polar opposite
doing
of the
this
yes
anyway.
and theory. It's like,
Yes.
it's like, no why.
It's the George Costanza, what Tommy says, do the opposite. And
Why would you do that to me, DL?
I don't know.
I don't understand why you hate me so much.
To be fair, it was mostly Gail's fault.
Very interesting. What have you been up to in life, buddy?
In life, what have I been doing?
You know what? I said that to you then, and my brain just went completely dead. I'm like, I don't feel like I've done anything for like the last 2 weeks.
I'm actually trying
Tops.
to think of what I've done.
Well, we're obviously saving because we're going away to New Zealand for
Yeah.
a week. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. But one thing we didn't talk about a couple of weeks ago was that it was my birthday, and we had
yes.
a lot of fun going and eating way too much food.
Yes. Honestly, that's mostly what I've been
Way
doing.
too much food.
Just eating a lot of food. To the point where I downloaded a calorie counter app. Because I was such a whale last weekend. I mean, dude, we did. We had like
Oh my God, we
steaks, duck. Then the next day we had pancakes in the morning.
We had
with an egg
literally
McMuffin
everything. The egg
and
McMuffin
2
was the
hash
best
browns.
part. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I ate a lot last week. I was very
Happyfield
guilty.
in Haberfield, by the way. For anyone in Sydney, you need to check that place
I actually
out.
wanted it right now.
I really want it right now as well. Could you imagine if you get on Uber Eats all the way over here?
Yeah.
I'd have it every friggin' week.
I'm seeing a movie tonight with my partner in the theater, so back-to-back theater nights.
Damn.
And the place we always used to go, she just informed me, is closed.
Oh, the steak place.
Yeah.
What?
Apparently it's closed down.
Well, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
You just have to go to the chocolate place next door and eat
Fuck
all the chocolate
that.
away.
I was going to go to the Chinese place and get some of those, what do you call those, soup dumplings?
Oh, they're good.
Yeah, I never know what they're called.
I call them soup dumplings.
Do they get it? They figure it out? Because that's what I want. I want just like a plethora of those. Anyway, so I haven't done much.
My favorite dumpling of all time, please tell me yours, is Xiaolong Bao, which I've probably butchered. But like they're the ones, and in my what you're talking about.
That is it. Xiaolong Bao. That's it.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, that's my favorite. I love them.
Anyway, I'm jealous of your Queenstown trip. Favorite place in the world, Queenstown.
Really?
It's
There
like
you
up
go.
there, top 3 at least.
I would have liked to have done a bit of skiing while we were over. This is the most white bread conversation of all
But
time.
you're going in
Jesus.
summer.
No, it's winter.
Is it winter?
Yeah, it's winter.
I've only been in summer.
Right now,
I
it's
really
winter.
want to go in winter.
It is winter. We don't have time, unfortunately. I wanted to fit a day in, but the partner's got me like a birthday treat, shall we say, which takes up the day we would have liked to have tried to hit up the slopes. So
yeah.
that's fine. We're doing stuff. We're having a good time. Hey, look, guys, if you want to hear us banter about our weeks, feel free to stick around. Feel free to stick around. If you don't want to, though, there will be time codes in the description where you can jump to our main topic, which I'm not going to lie to you, it's probably one of the best things we'll speak about all year. So I'm excited to talk about that with you, DL.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be good. Listeners, we have such good banter that we deserve a 5-star review.
Always.
I've been told by others that listen to the podcast. So listen and
You probably
give us
didn't give us a 5-star review, so they should do it too.
Please do. Share the pod. 5 stars.
Yeah, if you know anyone who likes this kind of geeky stuff, hit them up, send it over. Pass it like that hot potato DL likes to talk about every week.
You love a hot potato, especially when it's baked with sour cream and cheese.
No wonder you were away last week.
Yeah, well, I didn't get that. I should have. What have you been watching, man? What's been on the docket?
What have you been up to, buddy? What's been happening? I could tell you a couple of things, a couple of fun things. The first one's a bit random, I'm not going to lie. It's not really in our geeky sphere, the type of thing we normally talk about.
It's fine.
But I was kind of sad there the other day, and you know when you're just flicking through and you're like, I'd want something totally out of left field, completely different to what I normally would watch. And I noticed on Stan, I believe it was, which is one of our mainstream services in Australia, that they have this movie, which I've wanted to watch for ages. It's kind of a movie documentary around bodybuilding in the 80s. It's called Pumping Iron. Now, pretty much anyone who has any interest in bodybuilding has probably seen this. It kind of loosely follows Arnold Schwarzenegger's fifth attempt at winning Mr. Universe.
Jesus.
Which I think is really ironic, right? Because they don't allow people in from other places in the universe, do they? Like, come on. It's your face right now.
I just,
It's
can't imagine
just
spending any time watching something like that.
It just reminds me of that episode of Futurama where they do Miss Universe and it's like all the different aliens from across. But I find it really interesting, and like the whole fact that like it sort of takes you through his main competitors, the people he believes are like the closest to him, and how he just like takes the piss out of them constantly is fascinating. Really, funny.
Arnold?
Yeah, he's like a dick to everyone all around, but like subtle jabs, like making them feel like shit about themselves. So like when they finally go up on stage, they don't think they're as good as he thinks he is. It's great, really interesting. There's like a great story about him when he was doing, I think, the Predator movie, and he was on with Jesse Ventura, who's an old wrestler, and he asked the people, the tailoring department, to tell Jesse Ventura that his arms were bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger's to make him feel great. So when he then actually did the measuring next to him, they found out Arnold's were way bigger. It like crunched his like self-confidence.
Who cares? Oh my god! The fact that he thinks though that that's gonna fuck with a bunch of people. I mean, maybe that profile of person.
Well, exactly. Like he was a pro wrestler, so obviously, but like,
sure, dude.
But like, it's the weirdest dick swinging contest of all time, right? Like,
really
what does this mean? What have you been up to, buddy? What have you been doing?
A fuck. I have watched the finale of Yellow Jackets for season 2.
Damn! Don't tell me a thing. Why would you say this?
Because I did watch it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. It's really good. It's, you know what? I will say this. I'm not going to say anything about Yellow Jackets.
But you are saying something about Yellow Jackets.
Anything that like would really, you're still going to watch it. You still should watch it.
We are.
I would say the first season was perfectly executed for the most part. I actually like what they've done with the second season, where they got to.
Okay.
There's a few moments where I didn't like how it was executed.
Yeah, you said that last week.
Yeah, did I? Am I repeating myself?
Kinda. That's all right.
Sorry.
But I can give you an updated view. So we actually powered through a bunch of episodes. We got through about 5. We're on season 7, episode 7 now, something. And the one minor criticism I have is that it's very protracted in the episodes. As in, like, I feel like they're almost too long.
Isn't that just like a
drawn out?
Isn't that just like a tool you use in grade school?
There is a protractor, yes. That is a thing. Different. They're almost too drawn out for me. Like, as in, I feel they could cut some of the stuff, which is, I don't know, the chick in a room staring at a bag of cocaine for 5 minutes. I don't, like, that's not adding to a character. We know she's a former addict.
Nah,
it's like,
I disagree.
I'm being really too specific here. I just think they're too, like, and one thing the partner says, and she's big into it right now, but she is like, this is too long. Like, the episodes, you get to a point, you go, this is a good point to end, and it goes on for another 20 minutes.
I don't agree. I enjoy all those episodes. Okay. And in fact, I think sometimes in the later seasons, they don't do enough small moments between characters. So it's kind of just feels like there's always suddenly some big thing happening. And it's like, I would have liked a little more time between these two characters interacting to understand, have some background into like how they're going to react to this big situation.
That's fine. I got to admit, I'm a little polar opposite to that. Like, it just like really good. Not gonna complain about it in any way. Really, just that I think the thing I'm noticing most about this is, so like the thing that the point that I thought they would get to at the end of this series is where it starts, right? Which is them all with the horns on and effectively being cannibals.
Well, you basically get a preview of it. You don't really see much.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you get that flash. Yeah, what my assumption was, like, and the reason I take assumption is because, like, there's no guarantee this show was going to get a second, third, fourth season when it was being created.
Yes.
So what you want to do is you want to loop back around and finish where you start, right? That's good storytelling. But where they are we're on episode 8. And they're like nowhere near that. As in, like, they're still pally. They're nowhere near the Lord of the Flies stuff right now. Nowhere near. And one of them just got bitten by a wolf or something and ended up dying. And it's like, I feel like there's too much to cram into 3 episodes to get them to that point.
But why do you think they're going to get to that point at the end of the season?
But that was what I was saying before. Like, good storytelling, not knowing that you're going to get a second, third, fourth season, whatever it is. Just going in with the view of, we only have one shot at this. We can get one season in. You would think they're not going to show you something that's wildly out of context of what you're going to see.
I think that your point stands, that good storytelling, you're getting to an outcome. I think you're just jumping a couple steps. You don't just go from Crash to like full Deer Cult. That's what there's a step in between.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a step in between.
I feel like that either the bit of them in the forest needed to be, you need to see more of the future stuff. They need to jump forward little bits here or there. or don't show us that bit at the beginning. Make it something different. Make it like the end spot they're at the end of the
I
season.
think they're telegraphing the story that you're going to see in the progression to that point. Like, how do civilized people progress to that point? And the end of, one season might not be that, because like you may not get the second season, but you're hoping for it. The end of that season is one step towards that progression or something, like by seasons, if that makes sense. I think you're thinking about this like it's only a single season of television. They've said they knew they wanted 4. They didn't know if they'd get them.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part, which is interesting context. But what if they didn't get a second season? You've just got this bit at the beginning where they're like all like horny and shit, and that's weird thing to say. They've got all the deer horns on and stuff, and it's like,
well, dude, you're gonna finish. You'll get context. Finish. That's all.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I've been up to a couple of other bits this week. I've obviously been carrying on with Zelda. Oh my god, that game is huge. Oh my god, that game is great.
How do you have time?
I don't. That's the problem. I literally squeeze it in. Anyone I work with who listens to this, please don't repeat this. I squeeze it in when I'm one of those long 2-hour calls where you're not really paying attention. It's like an enablement on something you don't really care about, and you're like, Zelda.
I just don't even join those anymore.
Man, I tell you, geez, like the ones you have to be on. I'm like, all right, I'm here. And we, that's how I fit in any playing on it.
But do you feel like you make any progress?
No, never ever. so my colleague at work, he was talking to me. Actually, we were talking about it yesterday, right? And I asked him like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And he's like, "I finished it." I was like, "What do you mean you finished it? It's been out a week." He's like, "Yeah, he's done like 200 of the shrines. He's finished it. What else did he do?" He told me he'd done. He'd done something else. It was
is he single?
So no, he's married with 2 goddamn kids. And so like the map in this one, you might know this from the trailers, it's over 3 levels, right? So you've got the sky level, you've got the main one again, which is the same, and then you've got like
the bottom level is not
the subterranean
level.
That
was like not announced at all before the game came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's in there, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying he's effectively done, he's done all the map, right? Obviously. He's done almost all of the sky stuff. There's like one little thing he hasn't done. And then he's now doing the subterranean stuff. And I'm like, bro, I turn this game on, I get to the next shrine, and then I have to turn it off because I don't have enough time to play. I'm like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
Do you ever sleep?
Probably not.
Probably not, man. Like, geez. Like, I don't know how he does it.
Apparently,
literally.
like, there's a new record set for that where, like, somebody beat the game in under an hour.
Stop it.
Which is, like, I guess if you just, like, ran to each point. What a waste, though.
I guess that's the speedrunning thing. A lot of the speedrunners, they like glitch the game and stuff. Like, it's not fun to watch. I watched a speedrun of, I think it was Elden Ring a while ago. It's not fun to watch.
The speedruns for games that are meant to be speedrun. For like Resident Evil rewards you for beating the game faster with like unlockables.
Right, okay.
So it's like, in those games can be, they're big, but they're not like open world.
Interesting.
So I can watch some of that because I'm like, damn, that's interesting. How'd you beat that boss with like a knife?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
You skipped all the gun upgrades. Like, whoa. But like, I guess it's the same thing in Zelda, but it's an open world game. Like, it's not.
Elden Ring's the same though,
right? It's not about
like,
that.
No, and it's always this thing where you press like. You go to this one certain spot and then you do like a certain movement.
You just drop through the level.
And then you literally like glitch to the next bit. And it's like, well, what was the point? Like, you've not done any of the game. Anyway, what's your last thing you've done, buddy?
What have I done? So all the things I teased. Flight 487. We started watching that even though you told me not to.
Which was that?
The Malaysian Flight 487.
Malaysian Airlines. That's not bad at all. I quite liked it.
I know. But you told me like if you've already been down the rabbit hole, you're not learning anything new, which so far seems to be the case.
Yeah, you're not really.
This is 40. Watched anyway, despite your recommendation to not watch it.
What is wrong with you? Do you want to hurt yourself?
It was very, very, very dysfunctional, that family.
Totally.
As in, there is funny parts though.
Yeah, there are. But can we just talk about that for a minute? Like, I never saw the ending of that film, and I'm never going to.
I don't think I did either.
How did you get through it?
I think we got to like the last 20 minutes, and I'm sure we will finish it. Maybe
that's what we did. We turned it off for the last 20 minutes.
Like I just remember they were like watching the show together, and I'm pretty sure it was going to be this happy ending where like he goes and's like, he's unsigned, and he like is gonna go try and sign him, and it was gonna be like, but I just knew it was coming, and I turned it off. But then the coolest thing I've been watching and finished since the last time we spoke, I burned through it the last like week and a half.
Yeah, this is why you could fit Zelda in, right?
That's 1923.
Oh yeah, you were keen.
Well, I think I did watch a couple episodes last week. But
you'd seen a couple.
It's
how
not.
How many episodes is it?
I think it's 8.
Okay.
They're hour long though. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's 8 hours of your life, buddy.
It's pretty big.
Burned.
I mean, there was one night where I just stayed up from like 10 to 2 a.m. and just watched it because I couldn't sleep.
I physically can't do that.
I had some edible and I couldn't sleep, and I was like, fuck it. Fuck it, we're going live.
We're here now. Yeah. This is where we live. That's fun, man. Yeah, what's the go?
It's just like a really good look. I love a Western. It's a Western. It's about a family in Montana protecting their ranch. And it's actually set in Africa too. One of the sons is out there, and he's like he's a hunter out there. He's
Righto.
Like, it's just it's good. There's good actors in it that I hadn't realized that are new to me. There's parts that are not as good, but mostly it's good. Solid 8.
Solid 8. Better than Aquaman. That's what you're saying.
Definitely.
Solid. Yeah. A solid 8. And the last thing, I'll tell you the last thing I did then, as we're here. I rewatched the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Now, after we talked about it the other week, I've had a jonesing, like an overwhelming urge to rewatch this goddamn movie.
Really?
Just because of the music, because of the vibe, and I think there's a scene in, is it Endgame where you see Quill in that first bit where he's dancing and singing along to Redbone. Ah man, that film's so good. I'd forgotten how great it was. The bit at the end where they're like a little bit of something good or something bad, a little bit of both. It's
good for sure. I've seen it a lot though. So
you know what it made me think. Yeah, same. But you know what it made me think? And this is a thing that actually kind of fascinates me a little bit. So obviously James Gunn has his vision for these characters, and then they went off and they were in other films. So they were in Endgame and they were in whatever the other one was that I've now forgotten, Infinity War.
Yeah.
And my feelings on the characterization of Quill in Infinity War are that the bit where he slams Thanos in the head and stuff and ruins the universe or whatever. That's not in line with his character to me.
You said that, and so did someone else. You said that because James Gunn said it, and I just disagree. He's super immature and selfish.
I don't think I don't think he'd ruin the universe though.
The point is you don't realize you lose control of your emotion. He's definitely emotional. He's definitely selfish, making a rash decision in a moment.
All right,
it's his first love when he hasn't had love before. It's totally believable.
All right, well, rewatching the first one totally reminded me that he is a stone cold killer. That guy he doesn't give a damn, man. He will just.
That's my point.
And when we watched the third one recently, I was like, this is what I thought of as Quill. He is stone cold. The bit where he seduces in quotation marks the girl in the bionic, that's the wrong word, the bioplanet thing where all the information is held. Yeah, organic. The bit where he seduces her and then he's like, I just want to talk to their humanity, and then he's like, I'm not that much of an idiot, and just fires them off in different directions.
Yeah.
That's Quill. You know what I mean? That's what I think of him as. And I get your points, but at the same time I'm like, I think
that was just James Gunn being annoying because he was bitter.
Because he was bitter.
Yeah.
Bitter and twisted about having to leave.
Yeah.
Alright, y'all, what we do now is we like to talk a little bit about what's been happening in our geeky spheres. And we call it Have You Heard? Because a lot of the time, I haven't heard the things he's talking about, and he hasn't heard the things I want to tell him about.
Yeah, but we are. Weird news alert.
Oh my God.
There's weird news.
It's back, baby.
There's weird news. Something's going on the Saturnian.
This is great. Please
Saturnian moon.
Please keep trying to pronounce this word.
Saturnian moon of Enceladus. Enceladus? Anyway.
Enchiladas. Are we talking about?
It sounds like a salad in Spanish.
Spanish salad.
The Spanish salad that is orbiting Saturn.
Oh, yeah?
No,
this is a weird start to the conversation.
There's a moon that's orbiting Saturn, a Saturnian moon. And the James Webb Space Telescope has spotted a 6,000-mile long... Just let me reiterate that. 6,000-mile long plume of frozen water erupting from crevices in the surface of this moon. And this moon is known to be, or perceived, or hypothetically believed to be, and theorized to be, a big block of ice with massive oceans underneath.
Oh.
And so something is ejaculating.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't want to use that word.
Frozen water miles out into space out of ice fissures in the surface.
Wow. Maybe it's lactating. It's lactating water.
Anyway, it can be seen you can see it spewing. It's pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Are there images?
Yeah, I mean,
from the
telescope
Ensalada
images.
Verde.
Yeah, telescope images.
Ensalada
You're like,
Blanca?
I guess that looks like spray. Somebody knows.
Somebody knows
them.
it's water. Yeah,
But they're like really, really excited about this place because they think that this is one of the places where there could be life, right? Because there's water.
got it. If it was a little bit warmer,
Like, well, maybe not our. They could be like bacteria. You know what I mean? That kind of shit.
Interesting.
So
That's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So what does that have to do with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Nothing. The spewing, maybe. I don't know.
That's so interesting though. I love when they
Yeah.
find stuff like that and they're just like, hey, look at this thing. And you're
Yeah.
like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I love that that's in our geeky sphere, DL.
Yeah.
Well,
How about
slight change of pace, mate. Did you hear this week? Of course you heard. Everyone knows. Succession has ended and apparently the internet broke. Did you watch any of Succession?
I haven't seen any yet, but I am leaving it as a thing to watch in the future alongside like The Wire. There's a couple HBO shows that I haven't seen.
I can imagine watching The Wire, but this. So just for everyone's context, you know this, but I sort of by proxy watched it because the partner's big into it. Big into it.
Yeah.
So I by proxy watched like the final series through her. And this isn't anything because obviously I don't know the character progression. I don't know what happened before this, but I did not like anyone in that show. Actor-wise, I didn't think they were good actors. They weren't written well. And every time I tuned in for like a split second, I was like, you're annoying, and just turn my brain
Sounds
back
like
off.
you really gave it a chance.
I totally did, yeah.
The thing about Succession is they're all supposed to be assholes.
Oh yeah, they are.
Like they're not
absolutely.
meant to be like people you're like, oh, these are good people. They are definitely meant to be dicks.
Well, what I'd like to know is, what I wanted to do is explain to you why I thought the ending was dumb.
But
But
I
if
don't
you're
want to
gonna watch
hear
it,
the ending. No, definitely not.
Then I won't. And I would
Please
like to
don't.
come back when you've eventually got around to it because there are so many flaws in this ending. Like, we're talking plot hole city right here.
Are people angry?
I don't think so. I think people loved it, which is baffling because it's complete nonsense.
Says you who hasn't seen the entirety of the show.
No, I haven't. But okay, right. So
Like, I guess I trust the people that have been invested in watching it more than you.
how can I frame this?
Yeah.
So it's said you get the premise of it, right? Succession.
It's
who
like
succeeds
who's going to
the
get
main
the
guy.
company. And,
Yeah, right. So it's set up that it could be A or B, right?
Yeah.
And B happens because someone doesn't do something they're supposed to, right? And that person has fucked themselves over by going that way, not the person she thought she was going to be fucking over. It's complete nonsense.
Okay.
It's
I'm just
and
not
everyone
going to
seems
think
like,
about it.
This makes so much sense. No, it doesn't.
I'm just not going to think about it because I don't want to until I've seen it.
And
But-
also, I'm probably just saying these things because I want to annoy people.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Look, not everything's for everyone. I'm a big fan of Margin Call. I'm a big fan of like The Big Short, like that kind of style drama. I do like. So, you know, I
Big Shot's great.
Yeah, I just want to see
The bit where you flick to Margot Robbie for no reason.
I just want to see. Yeah, that's the dumbest
Primo.
part. That's the dumbest part of the movie.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
I just want to see freaking Ryan Gosling say, "Look at him. You notice anything about him? He's my quant." And he just points at a Chinese character.
Wow.
So fucking fucked up,
Brutal.
but so accurate. I'm sure
Is
that
that
happens.
how people talk?
I'm sure that happens in fucking dickhead finance world.
Oof, I
Where
would
they're all
hate,
making
I would hate to be
millions.
around that. Look, DL, did you hear this week? Moving on from things you know little about.
Yes.
Black Mirror has got a new trailer. Now listen to this.
Doesn't it have what's his name?
Yeah, listen to these people. This is just three of the stars I noticed off the top of my head. Aaron Paul's in this. Josh Hartnett's in this. And favorite of the show, Salma Hayek's even in this.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
The fuck?
He's had a massive renaissance over the last
You
few
just, like,
years.
Go back in time to the 90s. What do you mean?
Well,
Is that the Black Mirror episode?
he wished he could go back
It's like
in time.
you're
to,
in the 90s.
he wished he could go back to time 2004 and take that Batman role that Chris Nolan offered him. That's what he wants to do.
Seriously. But seriously, Josh Hartnett, like, is the Black Mirror episode like we wake up one day and we're back in 1995. 98.
They've de-aged the shit out of
Yeah.
him. Maybe. He was a heartthrob once upon a time.
I mean, he just like evaporated. Like, I don't know where he went.
What do you think? Have you watched Black Mirror?
I've seen episodes. Look, it's
Yeah, I'm one of
you know,
those
it's
too.
harder for me to like jump into like a show that's like episodic like that with no ties. Like a big part of storytelling I like is, you know, how the thing all weaves together
through roads.
in a
Yeah,
greater
absolutely.
theme. Like
Same.
not these short, but I do enjoy it when I watch it. So maybe I should kind of put myself out there more. But I've seen a couple.
So I was
kind of weird and gruesome.
Yeah, so I was scarred. I mean, like,
By the pig?
deeply scarred by the pig episode.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting pilot episode.
oh, it's. I mean, like,
like
wow.
I don't think they helped themselves.
No.
With that.
No. And I've seen a few since. I think I've probably seen about 2 or 3 from each season. But since that episode, I'm always reticent to really get involved in it. Like, in case something like that happens again, I'm like, I don't want this. Then he like chops a finger off or whatever. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
But the best one was, have you seen the one? It's the guy who's in the rock and roller. I can never remember his name. But it's like a semi-near future, and they've got like a chip in their eye that records everything they do throughout the day.
And he like points and stuff.
And he catches his wife talking to someone, and he's, wondering about, like, this is a weird conversation, and he massively overthinks this thing, and effectively finds out that she cheated on him with this other guy at some point, but like, it's mad, like, the way it happens. It's all about your psyche and how you overthink things, and really interesting. It's a good one. Check out the guy from the rock and roll. I'll never remember his name. I'll send you it after. Okay. That's a good one. What else have you been up to, buddy?
Look, I did notice that.
What have you heard?
I did notice that Dwayne Johnson's now got a standalone Fast movie.
The Brick.
Yeah, The Brick has got. I guess he won the war.
Well, all right. So, spoilers for the new Fast and Furious movie, Fast X or whatever it's called,
that I haven't seen.
That neither of us are ever going to watch.
But
he's in the post-credit trailer.
But like Vin Diesel and him have beef.
Yeah, that's the point. That's why it's an interesting reveal.
But it's an interesting reveal that he's there. But then it's going to be a standalone movie with just him, so they're not going to be in it with each other.
Yeah.
So it's like he won, but I guess like by default he won because basically Vin Diesel technically is like the dude for Fast and the Furious, right? So like it's kind of an insult to him if they're gonna just go make a movie with The Rock. Interesting
you say that, because I think when they finish, which they are now indicating might be a trilogy, the end of the Fast saga, which is these films with Vin in, I think it might be that The Rock takes over as the new Vin Diesel, and Vin will just be like an executive producer and just make a fuck ton of money.
Yeah, it's probably gonna happen. Yeah.
But he was in the Hobbs and Shaw film anyway. He's already been in one. He's already had his own little spin-off movie with Jason Statham.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
So he's already real bad. He's already lost this battle. Then I guess he doesn't lose if he's making money. Anyway,
mate, they all make money. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that was if that whole beef thing was made up, so that when he came back at the end of Fast 10, everyone was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, I don't really
with
care.
That exact.
I don't know why I brought it up. Honestly, just delete this segment.
Why do I know so much about the Fast and the Furious films that I've not seen any since 3?
I think I only saw 2.
Apparently they get good again at 5. That's when you want to jump back in.
I'm good. Oppenheimer gonna be an R-rated movie.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What's R-rated about it?
I don't know, but first one that Nolan's done in a long time that's R-rated.
What was his last R-rated movie? Maybe Memento?
That's a good question. Probably Memento. Memento's pretty gruesome.
Because that's 2002.
One of his first ones, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fascinating.
It'll be interesting. I mean, you're probably dealing with pretty sensitive topics.
I mean, war crimes?
Yeah, so.
Fairly sensitive, yeah. All around.
But my favorite bit of news, if you don't mind me going back to back.
Wow, you're really flying through these.
Is the Fable remaster rumors.
Tell me about the Fable remaster rumors, which is hard to say.
Who's played Fable of the listeners? If you have,
Yeah, hit us up if you've seen it.
Yeah, please do. Really cool game where like your decisions determined how you looked and like what you got and quests you got access. It was like one of the earliest games with like a moral system that like actually affected the path of the game.
And we talked about this.
Yeah.
This was originally created by Peter Molyneux, who was the biggest swindler in gaming.
That's not true, was it? So he was inspired.
He overpromised.
Yeah,
massive.
He wanted this shit to be like.
He was like, if you plant a tree in your first day, you come back 2 years later, you'll have a real tree. It's like, fuck off, mate. No, you won't. That's nonsense.
Anyway, I wouldn't do that. Who cares?
I mean, I would in Zelda. You give me the option to plant a tree, I'll plant a tree.
I guess my point is like Zelda's kind of set the tone for like interactive environments, but. I wonder like how they're gonna handle like that, because there's obviously like been a lot of games that have done things like this. The Witcher primarily,
yeah, sure,
where it didn't really affect how you looked; it more affected the path you took, and it was not so black and white. What decisions you made would cause what, like it was always hard.
Yeah,
it was like I'm obviously gonna be evil here. I'm obviously, you know what I mean. So there's a couple times like that in The Witcher. So let's see if they take from those that have improved upon their formula and they create a really cool game. I've heard they're going to do like a remaster trilogy.
Ooh.
And then,
did you ever play Fable?
I did, yeah.
And all of them? 1, 2, 3?
I don't think I played the third.
Okay.
First and second. Then they're going to kick it off with like.
You're an Xbox guy.
I was.
You were.
Halo and Fable.
Those are the things that kept you there.
I just think those are the two that I played Fable hasn't come out in a long time, so it couldn't have kept me there. I think
Right,
they haven't had anything since the Xbox. But
is it coming out on PlayStation, the new one, or is it like
it's just a rumor at this point? But I'm pretty sure it would be an Xbox exclusive. I'm pretty sure they own the rights. And there's 3. They're gonna remake all 3 and then create a new one. So that'd be pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen Fable, and I just don't. It looked a bit too cartoony for me.
Well, but I liked that. Like the design of it was very unique. It wasn't like all realistic. It was like its own little kind of style.
Yeah, okay.
Which I actually enjoyed.
I didn't. Yeah,
it was kind of comedic as well.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I was put off by a lot of cartoony games back in the day, so like now I'm like I can't really get into them. Like I love a JRPG, but as soon as they have that cartoony or even anime type look to them,
it's definitely it wasn't anime, that one. It was cartoony for sure. Your style game though, in terms of like how it plays.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a traditional RPG.
I'll give that a little look.
That way.
Well, DL, my final bit of news for the week is, did you hear this week that apparently Deadpool 3 is going to start filming in the next couple of weeks, which is interesting because obviously the writer's strike is still happening, and there is a fascinating tidbit about this that Ryan Reynolds is actually part of the Writers Guild of America. So like he's part of the Writers Guild that is currently striking, and if he were to ad-lib on stage while filming, which he is known to do, he's known to go off script, that would technically be him writing new lines.
I was going to say, because it's already written.
Yeah, he can be stricken from the Writers Guild, which is fascinating. He would lose all types of stuff like money, credits, etc. So,
well, he's pretty rich.
He is. In fact, you know what? Maybe he doesn't give a shit.
I mean, that's an interesting concept. The fact that because it's all written, it can. Because I was going to say it's already written, so they can go. But and I read the same thing about House of the Dragon, that it's not going to delay it because it's all written. But what if like you want to make a subtle change?
Exactly.
That's a good point. That sucks.
As long as it's not the writer making it. But then if he is a writer, which he would be credited for in the movie,
if it's the actor making it, it's all good.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But interestingly as well, the rumors are that a bunch of the OG X-Men are going to appear. So obviously we know Human Jackman's going to be there. That's a weird name I just made for him, Human Jackman. But also, apparently, a bunch of the other X-Men guys are going to be there, like Halle Berry, for example. That guy who played Cyclops. And
is this
going to
lead into
Grey.
The MCU
Who knows?
War of the Secret Wars?
Could easily be. That'd be quite fascinating, wouldn't it?
Feels like that's got to be where
Imagine
they're
Deadpool in that.
It's got to be where they're headed.
Yeah, probably.
Well, they need more comedy. It's usually bad these days.
they need more something, let's say that.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be a real interesting moment when he eventually ad-libs during the movie and they go, right, you're out.
Yeah.
Because they need people to tattletale, basically. They need folks to come to the Writers Guild and be like, this guy.
Can you imagine who, like the person that does that though is so blackballed.
You would be big time.
Yeah.
Totally like out of Hollywood.
Yeah, I think you're good.
I think they'll survive. Well, if you guys have anything this week we haven't talked about, I actually struggled. I didn't see a lot of news this week, so I managed to cobble this together last minute. But if you guys hear cool things and you want us to talk about them, hit us up at podcastassemble of thepodcastassemble@gmail.com, or you can just go to our website, www.podcastassemble.com, where you can find all of our contact details there. Send us memes, tag us in a thing. We love it when you do.
We do.
DL.
Yeah.
Do you want to preface our main topic this week?
Well, this one's near and dear to my heart, and I think yours as well. Given A, it's a good movie. B, it was one of the first, the first official podcast assemble episode, which was done on Into the Spiderverse. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse way back when. I can't remember how long ago, a long time ago. And we're following that up. Just came out yesterday, day before, hot off the presses, with the Across the Spider-Verse follow-up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this one last time.
I love that part of that movie. It's so good. Ugh. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this, actually. So
yeah, I am too. It's almost intimidating to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because so much is thrown at you so fast. Like I feel like I actually shouldn't be podcasting about this unless I've like rewatched it.
We watched it last night for context, and we haven't had a lot of time to digest it. We've both been working all day. This is like almost our fresh thoughts, fresh off the press.
I would agree. Yeah.
And I would also preface this by acknowledging that we've been known to not be the best at spoilers and non-spoilers in the past. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie, maybe come back to this later.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil it, but we may fuck up somewhere. So
we will do spoilers, and non-spoilers and spoilers, but as DL says, fuck-ups are possible. So we'll do our best. DL, do you have a stupid plot summary for this?
Yeah, it's hard to do a stupid one for this because I liked it, but mine would be Miles Morales subverts the tropes and goes full anarchist in this beautifully emotive and hilariously thrilling sequel.
Yowza, that's not stupid at all. That's just nice.
Yeah, well, the stupid part was the anarchist.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Because that's a good character. Mine's a little different. Little different for you here. Spider-Man meets Harry Potter in the Order of the Phoenix with a significantly less moody main character, but equal amounts of deception.
Yeah, I'm not sure I get it, but
well,
I like
it's
the jazz
effectively
hands.
Well, yeah, jazz hands. It's effectively he's like an outsider in this, right? And there's everyone else is off doing the Order of the Phoenix's thing. They're all together in their super secret society. It's so loose, but it's the best go with on short notice. I thought the parallels were interesting there. The fact that he is that outsider, etc. We'll talk about it. We'll get there. Yeah. Well, before we get there though, DL, do you want to guess for me the IMDb score for this as it sits right now, the day after it came out?
8.5.
It's 9.1, my man. You got to go higher. Do you want to guess me the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Well, that'd be like 95.
My man. Ding, 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 ding. The blind nut gets it. The blind nut gets squirrel again. That's
nuts get squirrels blind sometimes.
The blind squirrel got the nut again. Do you want to guess me then the Metacritic score?
82.
Oh, close. It's 86.
Oh, I should have gone with my old 85.
So it's pretty well renowned right now.
It's a good movie.
I mean, I can see why.
Great movie.
This is from couple of different directors this time. It's got Joaquim dos Santos, Ken Powers, Justin K. Thompson, a lot of interesting animated stuff within their CVs, including Soul. But the main part here is it's again written by the two guys who did the last one, Lord and Miller. Mm-hmm. You know those guys from a bunch of stuff like the Lego Movie, etc. They are hilarious.
They are.
So it keeps all of that sensibility of the first one, and a lot of the voice cast is back. So Shamik Moore is back as Miles. Haley Steinfeld is back as Gwen Stacy. Jake Johnson's back. We've got a bunch of returning cast, but there are so many fun, interesting new cast members. So we're talking Oscar Isaac, who is in as Miguel O'Hara. We have Issa Rae as Jessica Drew. Brian Tyrese Henry as Jefferson Davies. A couple that I really wanted to call out were ones that in the film, these are ones I wanted to call out because in the film, you and me were looking at each other like, who is that voice? So first and foremost, we had Hobie, who was Spider-Punk. These are all people from the trailers, so you guys, we're not spoiling anything here. That was Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't until you
looked it up?
Yeah,
same. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So Andy Samberg is obviously Ben Reilly, who's a Scarlet Spider. I really liked that character, but didn't get enough of him.
I don't understand. What is the Scarlet Spider? Is that just like a version of Spider-Man?
Oh my God. I can't even. Just anyone who's interested, go and Google the Spider-Man Clone Saga. It's long. It's nonsense.
So it's a very famously bad storyline. Is that why they gave him Andy Samberg? Because he was pretty goofy.
I wouldn't say it's famously bad. I'll say it had a really interesting premise, but just went on way too long.
Okay.
Way too long. Okay. Jason Schwartzman played the Spot, who's the bad guy in this. You'll know him from such things as Scott Pilgrim.
All those great Wes Anderson movies.
Absolutely. He fucking loves the Wes Anderson movie.
Great in quotations. Yeah. I don't know if I like those movies, but...
And finally, a good one that I liked was Spider-Man India, who was Karan Soni, who you know...
Do I?
As Dopinder from Deadpool, the taxi driver.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
I didn't until I saw it. I was like, that goddamn Dopinder.
Haley Steinfeld as well. Like those of you who don't know, is our Baby Hawk, or Baby Hawkeye.
Of course.
She's there. She's also in...
I totally forgot about that.
She's a Western hero in True Grit as a kid. She's actually in a lot of stuff.
I forgot she was in Hawkeye. Baby Hawk. You so threw me with that. DL, do you want to talk to me about then the plot of this? What's going on here? What are we happening?
Yeah, I think Miles Morales does the classic Spidey thing of struggling to balance personal and heroic commitments.
Also pining after the girl he just can't have.
Yeah, exactly, because she's in another dimension of the multiverse. Before he gets thrown back into the multiverse in odd fashion. But this time, friends might be foes and foes might be friends.
Absolutely.
And they all look like him.
So, yeah, absolutely. And it's super interesting that Miles isn't being invited to their super secret adventure club.
Nope.
And that's a big deal for him.
Nope.
Apparently he's sad about this.
He is. And he's super sad.
Super teenage problems going on here.
He's a bit angsty, but not terribly.
I feel like he does well in the angst. I thought he'd be way more angsty, but now he's a teenager.
Yeah, he wasn't that angsty. I mean, he was like moody. He was like, "Oh, I can't tell you." Like,
I can't tell you my
But he
secret
generally
identity.
wasn't like yelling. Like he wasn't like a Harry Potter all caps for half the Order of the Phoenix for book, or was it Order of the Phoenix?
Yeah, that was the joke I made.
Yeah, all caps.
That was the joke I made. And now it comes full circle.
No, I understood the joke, but he was caps on caps.
Oh my God, he was so caps on caps. Yeah. This movie is a delight, right? I liked it for a lot of different reasons. The movie starts off feeling almost like it's going to be a Gwen-focused movie. It obviously migrates back into being Miles, but like the extra depth it gives other characters and builds around them, I found fascinating.
I think Gwen and Miles probably got the same amount of screen time.
Very maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that about this.
And lots of great new introduction characters, as we've talked about, new Spideys. Did miss the Spider Pig.
Oh, yeah, it did.
With John Mulaney.
Also,
I think he was in rehab. I do think he was. I think that those timelines collide.
Yeah, I watched his recent comedy special on Netflix recently, and he talks about that a lot.
He does. I did as well. I've seen that, and that's why I thought, that's probably why he's not.
It's probably why, but it also didn't have old mate Nick Cage, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Who he might come back. He might come back for the next one, but he wasn't in rehab. He wasn't in this either.
I think it's an interesting take on like how to subvert the plot, which we won't talk about yet too much. But really, when you think about the plot, what we're seeing is the multiverse is bugging out again.
It's bugging out, baby.
And Gwen has been promoted to this multiversal Spidey crew.
Super Secret Adventure Club.
Which is a bunch of different Spider-Mans across the multiverse trying to stop it from really destroying itself. Now, we're not given a lot of context as to why, but if you can think about similarly to, we're led to believe it's, for those viewers that have seen the old Loki series, we're led to believe it's due to excursions when things are happening that shouldn't happen across the multiverse to keep some kind of sacred multiversal alignment happening. We come to find there's more to it.
We'll talk about near the end.
Yeah, we'll come to find there's a bit more to it, but it's really good to see. I guess the movie it comes at you fast. It comes at you, but it has great heartfelt moments as well.
Totally,
and those are usually led by Gwen and Gwen Stacy and Miles, like together when they do finally kind of interact and reconnect.
And even if they're not together, I think the separation between them
is clearly affecting them.
Clearly affects the two of them.
Sides.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think the thing that really got me about this from the very get-go was that the stakes of this are like enormous, right? So like the whole multiverse could be at stake.
Yeah,
like the whole multiverse, Spiderverse, whatever you want to call it. But it never feels anything but like relatable. I think the way they do it by introducing you to all... One thing we're going to talk about a lot is canon events in this, right? So canon events within the Spider-Man's timeline, things that happen to him in the Spider-Man canon, which are supposed to happen to him in every canon.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah, exactly.
Gwen Stacy dying.
Yeah, all these things. Yeah. And I think because it's happening to all of them and they all share the same pain, it kind of feels relatable, even though it is across a multiverse. And that's something I really didn't think I would feel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was super relatable. So I did feel like they were going so fast sometimes that I had to keep up, almost like an Inception vibe. And at first I was like, man, that's kind of annoying. But then I was going like, no, it just means I need to rewatch. It's going to increase the rewatch value for sure. So I was pretty excited about that.
Definitely for all just the cameos and stuff. Like there's so much happening in any one singular shot, especially when they get to Nueva York, which we'll talk about in a minute. Like so much goes on in just one frame. I'm like, wow. That's nuts.
And so we get, Miles Morales, who's, again, struggling with his parents. They're pretty pissed at him.
It's the classic teenager-parent dynamic, right?
And he chooses to kind of follow Gwen through a multiversal hole, which takes her and him to another part of the multiverse where she's doing something we're not really quite sure. And eventually we do get to New York, where you see that Gwen's been working with the the hard rock, punk rock Spider-Man.
I really liked him.
The
Spider-Punk,
the Oscar Isaac kind of new
2099 Spider-Man,
2098 Spider-Man, which by the way, 2099 Spider-Man, and some other squad of Spider-Mans trying to stop this multiverse thing from collapsing. Quick question though for you,
please.
Can we just talk about the different Spider-Mans and a bit of the history of them if they exist?
Yeah.
So Spider-Man,
almost all of them exist.
2098.
99.
You confused me because I have it as 2089. So I'm like, what's that from, and what's the context there for the viewers?
It's a future version of Spider-Man.
Not that far away.
No shit. Not for us. Yeah. When it was created, it was. Yeah. So obviously, DL, based off the name, Spider-Man 2099 takes place in guess which year? Not 2089, like you said. It takes place in 2099, which is effectively like a dystopian sort of future sort of society, and it's ruled by powerful corporations. And I like this version. Too far off. Yeah, well, we're getting there. I like that Disney will take over the world soon. I like this idea of the protagonist being Miguel O'Hara. He's not a Peter Parker. He's not a Miles Morales, but he is like a brilliant geneticist who does work at Alchemex, which brings back into this story, which I find very, very interesting. He gets in an accident involving a drug called Rapture, which is, very different to the usual Spider-Man gets bitten, and it changes DNA, which is kind of fascinating. And it's a completely wildly different version of the character. It was kind of in that sort of 90s. Yeah, it was very, so for anyone who doesn't have a lot of comics knowledge, the 90s went a very specific way, and that was everything had to be more hardcore. Yeah. So everything had to be like really in your face, and everything had to be cool and edgy and like everything had to be sharp. There were like weird versions of Batman, like all kinds of weird shit. So like this weird edgy, it's in that mold where a bunch of comic writers went off and did their own thing. Yeah. And everything else was trying to keep up with their edginess. Yeah. Marvel was no different. They were like, it's the 90s. How can we be cool? We need to do this. So, yeah. And what else? Hit me with another one.
I was going to say, so the other one would be, and I guess I'm trying to figure out which ones of these are invented or not.
I would
India
say
Spider-Man?
India Spider-Man's a real thing. Yeah,
he
absolutely.
was a homie.
He was a homie. Slightly different in the comics. He is just in Mumbai in the comics.
Okay.
It's effectively a very similar story. So in this, we'll talk about the different places they go in the cinematography and world building, but it is very slightly different. It is literally just Mumbai. So he is a real character, and he has a lot of the same traits. It's fascinating.
Mumbai is fucking massive in this.
Mega as well.
In this
iteration Mumbatan, I think it's called. Say. Yeah. Well, okay. Let me cut you off right there. Yeah. If you can think of a character in this, 99.999% of them are real versions of Spider-Man.
So why don't we talk about the big ones then?
Go on then.
Then the last one is
let's talk about performances then.
Yeah,
let's go straight.
I feel like that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're doing that anyway.
So there's Gwen Stacy. They killed it. Miles killed it as well. Yeah. I think he plays a more mature version of the character, and it's believable. Absolutely. He's hit a growth spurt. He's bigger. They make a bunch of puberty jokes. It's kind of funny, kind of gross.
It's ironic because Spider-Man is literally just an allegory for puberty.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we're there.
Jake Johnson, as we talked about, returns. Peter B. Parker, something new
baby.
There. Something new, yeah. A little spider baby.
Little spider baby.
Little redhead.
It's interesting. It's a slightly different pitch for him because he's obviously still got those like he's feeling those dad vibes towards Miles. He's still feeling protective over him, but this super secret society he's part of are trying to shun Miles within this. So like, he has to try and toe the line and fail.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of like trying to be the company man that rationalizes the company philosophy. He's like middle management. Yeah, really. Just trying to live his own life, but also do the right thing, but it's kind of in conflict with the right thing because he doesn't really believe the philosophy.
Absolutely.
So you got him, and then you got, as we talked about, Miguel O'Hara and Oscar Isaac, who's really
he's great in this.
He's really, really good. We talked about that a bit.
He plays that tortured leader really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My favorites, I would say, though, were the Hobie Brown punk rock Spider-Man.
So good.
That's not real, surely.
Yeah, punks.
What do you mean?
Spider-Punk's a real thing.
Spider-Punk's a real thing.
Yeah, if you've played the Spider-Man game on PlayStation,
I have. There's a character. Yeah, I just thought they were being funny.
Nope. Everything you see in this movie almost is pretty much directly from a comic book. Okay. There is so much history for Spider-Man. They could just do whatever they want.
Surely not the T-Rex.
Yep, that's in one of the comics. T-Rex Spider-Man is one of my favorite things in this movie. I remember tapping on the shoulder like, it's a T-Rex. It's a T-Rex.
What about the cat?
That's from the game. That's what. Sorry, you haven't played on. That's from the Miles Morales game.
Okay. Anyway, the next thing I kind of wanted to talk to is Jason Schwartzman as the Spot.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Which I think is an all-time great performance.
Let's frame this a little bit then. Yeah, because so what happens is we find out very early on that there's this new villain in town, which Miles isn't taking very seriously. He's called the Spot.
And for fair.
Yeah, he's a
bit
goofy.
He's very goofy.
He's so goofy.
And I think it's a really interesting parallel to Miles's story in the last movie.
Interesting.
Is James Schwartzman's story as a villain in this movie.
Interesting.
Trying to find his villain vibes, struggling.
Yeah.
Kind of comes to his own at the end.
Yeah, very much. And aptly terrifying as he goes through. Like, he does start off as this bumbling kind of idiot, but as he sort of learns his deep, dark powers, he's
100%.
And I like the callbacks to the first movie with that character. There is some comedy to be gained from not knowing who that is. It's great. It's a really fun character to follow, and it's a little bit, I feel, a bit like how the MCU does with sometimes. Like, so you remember how with like Spider-Man Far From Home, Jake Gyllenhaal was just like a random Stark employee. Yeah. It's a little bit like that. Like, it's just someone, and you're like, oh, it's that's random. Yeah. And it's nice how that all ties together. But like you say, in terms of the character, when you first meet him, bit bumbling, bit stupid. I kind of like that. Did you?
It was a really funny scene. No, 100%. Like,
I think it's in the trailer.
Great. It was super comedic, and as I said, it kind of parallels, like, you see, it's like you're expecting Miles to be a little bit that way because that's the way we kind of last. I mean, kind of is still figuring it out.
I think
but actually, it's the villain.
Good, yeah,
and he's good, and so you get this like more confident Miles. So it's good, and I really liked it. I gotta say, we don't give the parents enough credit in this. I forget the actors who played them.
Yeah, they're great in this.
They are great. They're like usually.
Well, Brian Tyree Henry's his dad, Jefferson Davis, who we know from the Eternals, was great in the Eternals. He's good. I feel like his voice sounds different in this somehow, but his mother, Luna Lauren Valles, who I do not know. I just like that character.
Well drawn.
Very well drawn. Very in like a Pixar style, if you've noticed. Yeah. Similar vibes if you've seen any of the memes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar.
Similar thick.
I like how they constantly call back to them as his like anchor point as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I get it that like that seems an obvious statement, but a lot of Spider-Men don't actually have their parents around.
A lot of heroes in general. Yeah. It's like, this is a very like antithesis of most hero stories. Exactly. Is like this really loving and supportive family around him. And like the conflict isn't that he, doesn't necessarily have family for this movie in the last one. It's that he wants to share more, but doesn't feel like he can.
And also is trying to save them from knowing his terrible truth, effectively.
Yeah, terrible.
Now, as you know what I mean? Terrible as in like... As in grandioso. Well, the interesting thing then is, obviously, we are introduced to Spot, who's sort of almost a background character for a lot of it, with Miles taking center stage. And then, obviously, Gwen Stacy comes back into his life, and she's actually tracking Spot, but uses the excuse to hang out with Miles. And that's really nice in the way that they've sort of, like, grown their relationship a little bit. Like, he hasn't seen her for a while, but he's still super invested in her. Yeah. And they're both, like... still kind of shy about things, but at the same time, they know how they both feel. But
100%,
none of
it's like mutually acknowledged, kind of, but not outwardly.
But they feel they can't do anything about it for reasons we'll get to. Yeah. And I really like how that story allows the progression of Spot. So her being distracted by Spot allows him to take on more powers and become more like terrifying.
Well, it flies straight into the theme of like juggling personal versus responsibility for her as well. Like she struggled with it and kind of left her duty for a bit and has kind of dire consequences.
Totally. And then what happens is effectively Spot finds that he has powers and can flip to different parts of the multiverse.
How funny is it though? The reason that he
kicks himself in the ass
because he kicks himself. Like he's basically this character that's like got holes and like can transport through a dimension through the holes on his body.
If you've not seen Spot, it's great.
He looks like a cow.
Yeah. Basically looks like, if you imagine like a man in a morph suit, like white morph suit, like just with black dots on it.
Blue Man Group, but white with black dots.
And the black dots are effectively portals to somewhere else. So there's great panels of Spider-Man trying to punch Spot in the face in one hole and it coming out a different hole directly into his. Yeah. So like that's what you're getting here. It's that hijinks, right? Like it's all nonsense. You're not sure where anything's gonna go, and it starts like that. It starts funny.
Yeah, and to the point where he discovers his superpower by kicking his own ass, and like going into one of the holes and realizing like if he like goes into like a black hole of himself, like he gets more powerful basically,
and he can jump to other parts of the
and he
Spiderverse,
can traverse the multiverse,
which is fascinating. And
through his holes.
The thing I like then,
himself.
the thing I like then is, well, this is a good time to jump to cinematography and world building. Is he jumps directly to Mumbattan, I think we say here. So it's like Manhattan, but it's Indian Spider-Man, so like it's with an Indian theme. That's so awesomely built, that whole world. It's a whole new world, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
As Aladdin would say.
I really liked it, yeah.
And I liked that version of Spider-Man. He was so carefree.
Yeah.
I was really fun to see. He had his family there too. He stopped for chai tea. Don't say chai tea because chai means tea and you're just saying tea.
Naan bread.
That whole thing I really enjoyed. And it's funny because you know my partner, she's got like Pakistani background. And it's like the fun thing about that is like if I ever did say naan bread in like that family presence, they'd all look at me as if I was an idiot. And that was really relatable. Yeah, and it's such a funny thing because like it isn't relatable to everyone, but the people who get it are just like, oh yeah, that's really actually funny.
I mean, I think they explained the joke well enough that like
totally
in a funny way where you don't need it. Like it wasn't like I explained it in a bad way.
Totally. And I think so. Building from there, then obviously we have a big event there where Spot, he gets more powers from Alchemax, and then we have a big event where Miles sees his future, and he realizes one of these canon events, it's a coming for him. Right? Yeah. And this is where it almost becomes the second half of the movie. There's like almost a line down the center here where it goes from being the bad guy is Spot to what we see in a lot of the trailers, where it's a lot of Spider-Men's chasing Miles Morales.
Yeah, and we're not entirely sure why.
Not entirely sure why. And we get this flip to Nueva York, which is where Spider-Man 2099 is from. And that's a cool world to look at as well.
Yeah.
It's very futuristic, kind of almost hovery cars.
It's very, the world of Rick's.
Absolutely.
Rick and Morty, you know?
There is a very Rick and Morty vibe to this. Have you noticed that? I noticed it immediately. I was like, oh, this feels very
What do they call it?
Council of Ricks.
Rickadell or the Citadel?
Yeah, the Citadel of Ricks.
Yeah.
I got a big vibe about it while I was watching this. Yeah. Big time vibe. One thing I did notice while watching this, and it wasn't completely not there, but it's a lot less apparent. There was a lot less, like, you remember in the first one where Miles would be swinging across the screen and it would get the comic panels where it'd be like, or like flip. There were like a couple of bits where it did that, but significantly less in this, I thought. So they removed, like, and I think I could guess why, because like the world they're building and all of the Spider-Mens you see on screen all at once, like it's so much that if you had all of that and this going on as well, like that's too much.
I think they did the panels in certain really small scenarios. They stepped up the animation game for sure. It was like it was more amazing. It looks better. It's just more nuanced. There's more diversity.
Some of it must have been based on real people's because it looked too real.
There's more diversity. There's more 3D. There's more. Yeah. It's just like all. And it kind of like as you go through different worlds, it changes obviously. And
I like the vibe all the different worlds have. That gets me every time, and I forget how good it's going to be when you're in Gwen Stacy's world.
Pastels and water paint.
Almost washed out. It's great. It's beautiful. And the Mumbattan world is like really vibrant and just like everything's happening all at once. Everything everywhere all at once. Great film.
Yeah.
Even the difference between that and Nueva York, where you come to in a moment, it's like, wow, that's fascinating.
Totally.
So let's talk a bit about action then, because one of my favorite action scenes outside of Spot kicking himself in the butt is the one that's in all the trailers where the Spider-Mens are chasing the Spider-Man.
Yep.
Do you want to preface that a little bit? Like,
I mean, basically there's a reveal, which we'll get to later, that drives everybody to chase Miles while he goes and pursues his own his own mission and beliefs. Yeah. And it leads us to a great little meme thing where you get all the Spider-Mans figuring out, hey, which Spider-Man are we chasing?
So funny. I think that's in the trailers, by the way. It's so good.
And that's probably not my favorite, but it's up there. It's just, you get a bunch of different versions of Spider-Man with a bunch of different, like, funny jabs and funny jokes all at once.
Yeah.
Chasing him. And, I don't know. Like, you tell me, why was it your favorite?
I just think it was so, like what you're talking about before. All of it's directly from some version of Spider-Man. It's so like the amount of love and time and effort put into that comic. Where so effectively, like you say, Miles Morales Spider-Man. He has this big reveal about his upcoming canon event, right? Yeah. And he's chased by all of the Spider-Men to try and catch him, and he's running
to stop him from trying to break this.
Running from for dear life to try and stop him breaking the multiverse effectively.
Yep.
And the action is really interesting, mainly because like, how often do you just see a bunch of the same character all trying to
little different new versions?
Yeah. I really and
it's where we see the dino that we talked about,
and there are so many throwbacks. That like the bit from Homecoming where Spider-Man's trying to hold the boat together.
Yeah.
When he's like split it in half.
I didn't see that.
So
I
missed it. They basically chase Miles. I keep saying Spider-Man. They basically chase Miles over like a gap, and there's a Spider-Man holding two things together. It looks like he's like training, and then everyone piles on top and just falls through. I think the thing I really liked about it was the sheer variety.
Yeah, it's just, and you can see this movie 100 times and probably catch something new.
Exactly, and everyone had their slight nuances. There was one that was a T-Rex. There was one that was a cat.
That's not even nuanced. That's just
that's what I mean.
Really
but there was one that was like a gunslinger for some reason.
That was hilarious.
You, of course,
web
like
slinger.
that.
It was just hilarious.
It was nonsense.
Why does the horse have a mask?
It's great. And what happens is effectively, they all chase down Miles. He managed to, and that's where we'll probably call it in terms of actions, because I think we get any further, we're getting into that sort of spoiler territory. But let's talk then very quickly about the CGI.
It's very disorienting in the action. I will say that.
Yes, agreed. I completely agree. And I think that is probably the tagline for the action in this movie. Yeah. So if you think about the early fights with Spot, even when Spot isn't fully in control of his powers and he's not that badass yet, and it's like, it's chaotic, and it's like bit like fists flying through things, and like how do you catch him and stuff. It's great, really chaotic. Favorite character, favorite version of Spider-Man?
That's tough. I think probably has to be Hobby Brown.
I knew you'd say that.
He's just so funny. I didn't even understand half of what he said because of the accent.
Yeah,
I think I did say in the middle of the movie I need subtitles for this. Dude.
It was really
But like when I did get something, it was perfect.
Yeah, I liked him too. I think my favorite was probably
I can't even do it.
Yeah,
water.
Yeah,
there's like one part where it's like they're talking about how every single person has had a canon event.
Yeah,
and he even looks to like Hobby, goes, "What of it?" Or like I don't even know what he says, but I was like, that was a grunt. But
what of it? Yeah,
yeah, it's just
very British. And he does. I think my favorite bit is when he says like some Cockney rhyming slang, and it pops up in the bottom corner. It's like, this is Cockney rhyming slang for X and Y, and it's like, that's great. That's a great call out. I think mine was probably Spider-Man India. I just really liked how fresh he was and how different. Like, really fun. Just a fun character. So then let's talk. We've talked a little bit about the CGI already, so
it's probably the best part of the movie. Like, I can't talk about it and give you what you like. Go for that. You know what I mean? I can't tell you.
So you would go for the spectacle
alone. It's just so artistically creative and different and well done.
Yeah, okay, fascinating. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like, if you're going to go see fucking Avatar, then you should see this.
100%.
Like, if you're going to see that for spectacle, this is the same thing. I'd say better because it's more creative.
The thing I find interesting about that is, like, Avatar, it's a brand new IP. So, like, the fact it's the biggest grossing movie of all time and continues to be, and this isn't, when this is so much more, has so much more exploration of interesting themes, and just all of the CGI is so much more interesting than Avatar. Avatar's just people, but they're blue. It's boring. This is 1,000 different versions of Spider-Man,
but they're also in water,
and they're so modern. Love it. Let's talk tones and themes, DL. I think for the first time in my life, I've got a whole bunch of them.
Okay, let's hear yours.
Creating your own worst enemy. That's a big one that we're going to get to in spoilers. I think inaction is often worse than action. I've got blindly following. Is it right?
Dogmatism, basically.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Question. I think earnest. And there's a theme of like questioning earnestly is healthy.
Correct.
And dogmatic decision making isn't. Like,
absolutely, I'm with that. That's what I'm going for here. There's the classic Spider-Man. You're still growing up. You're still part of. It's still part of your life. You're still becoming an adult. And then there's the classic Vin Diesel family. I love it. But what is family? Do you accept, like, for Miles, it's obviously his real family, but then all these Spider-Men they have this accepted family, who they believe they belong to.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I think that there's that. I think there's a theme that's almost a bit different than the normal superhero theme of like the importance of like friendship, but like being vulnerable and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is like a theme that I think is super powerful in this one, but not as prevalent in other Superman style, superhero style movies. So
I really like that. And that's a big one too in this. All of Spider-Men need help. Which is so ironic and funny. Like they all need to see, and there's that scene which is in the trailers where he's in the Spider-Man is in the psychiatrist chair. It's like, Spider-Man needs help. It's like
he's like, and then he's like, let me guess, your dad,
your uncle died.
He died.
It's like the Batman thing. Like he decides not to spend his billions on getting some counseling. He decides to just go and put on a gimp suit and fight criminals.
Yeah.
What we do now is we like to talk about 3 reasons you might want to see this movie and 3 reasons why you might not, and we try and do it non-spoilers for you. So this is 3 best and 3 worst. DL, what are yours?
The extras, right? The 3 best. Like every single extra is awesome.
The various cameos. I have that too. It's amazing.
Spider-Punk, Daniel, Kaluuya, Peter B. Parker, whoever it might be. I'd say that.
I've agreed with that. Absolutely. I've also got the voice cast. Like I think I taking that a slightly different direction as well. I feel like they all really commit to this. You see some animated films and you're a bit like, oh yeah, they're kind of in this. Maybe a bit like the Page Master from last week. Call out to our episode from last week. They all really commit, like Patrick Stewart did in that. Like they're all in, 100% in.
For sure.
I really like that.
For sure.
I also said I've actually written the lamination somehow keeps getting better, but I think I meant the animation somehow. I think
you did too.
Funny that, isn't it? Isn't that weird? Sorry, what were your final couple of best?
I think the Jason Schwartzman, I really liked his spot as a villain. I liked the progression of him being this goofy dude to being this like properly creepy creation.
Absolutely.
And how it paralleled Miles from a villain perspective. It like makes you empathize with him a little bit. And then obviously I liked like the animation, whether it was like slow.
The lamination, I think you mean.
The lamination was really good, very sturdy. The animation was slow, fast, whatever it was. I really liked it. Yeah. And in particular, there's a scene where like, and I thought the animation tended to correlate to the vibe, like the theme and the vibe of the scene.
Okay.
So when you look at like even the slower scenes, you get this like really great. I love when like the animation and the blocking correlate to the theme or character moment. And you get that moment where Gwen and Miles are talking about how no one else can really identify with them, right? It's this one slow moment when they first meet up again, and you get it. It actually, the blocking of the scene is they're upside down, looking at a perspective of New York that only they would be able to see. And so it's this parallel of like their character moment and their emotions and the way they're feeling with the actual physical blocking of the scene.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
And I just love that. Like that moment. And there's a couple moments like that where I'm just like, it's just really well done.
I'm 100% with you on that. Do you have any worst?
I do. Sometimes a bit too fast, I thought, hard to keep up. But honestly, it's like it's a neg that's not a neg, because I think that's how part of why it's awesome. And it's like you'll get to rewatch it.
Yeah. I've only got a couple, and like they're not really anything. The first one was that I did feel like Spot's motivations were a bit petty at times. And I know I get it. Comic books are stupid and it's like a bit of fun, but like it is really petty, the reason why he's so angry at.
He's angry at him because he's fucking a cow.
He's fucking a cow. Your wording sometimes is fabulous.
He fair enough, dude. Wouldn't you be pissed?
I mean, if it made me fuck a cow, like if this is Black Mirror again, then I'm absolutely out.
If you were suddenly this white blue man group,
I get it.
Anyway,
I get it. I did feel it was a bit petty. My other one was just that I had the most fucking annoying guy sat next to me in the cinema of all time. For the first 40 minutes, he was eating the loudest bag of popcorn possible to have in a cinema. Like it's almost like he was doing it to annoy me. Yeah. I got to the point where I was gonna move seats, and he finished eating it. I was like, fuck.
That's funny. My worst was the fact that there was like a full theater, and literally all these people, when it ended, thought there was about to be another 2.5 hours. I was like, are you guys that foolish?
Anyway, are you serious?
No, mine is like, need more from the villain vampire guy. Like we got barely any backstory to him.
I think that'll come in the next one.
I think it will too. So I reserve judgment, but it was like, they kind of just threw in the vampire thing, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like you kind of just like got a minute of it. It's like,
why be a vampire?
Why even show it then? Like wait a bit.
Yeah.
The other thing is like, where is Spider-Pig?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Rehab.
Do you think he'll be in the next one, and they'll point
so.
because he's obviously okay making comedy about it.
I reckon so.
I think that they will, and I think it'll be funny.
We'll talk about that in a moment. DL, what we do now is we like to talk about our rating system.
Yep.
And it's funny because it's not a real rating system. It's nonsense. We realized a long time ago that the internet is just too polarizing to do 5 stars, 100 Spider-Men out of 19 Spider-Men, 5 Spider-Pigs out of no Spider-Pigs. We don't do that here. What we do is we like to just talk about whether this is better or worse than the most average movie we can think of, which is and always has been Aquaman 2018. DL, why is this better than 20?
Aqua who?
Aqua whom?
Aqua what?
Do you think it's better than Aquaman 2018?
Aqua who? No.
And why?
All the previously see above.
Yes. Just listen to anything we just crowed about this movie. Yeah, it's so much better. I really liked all of the emotive side of it. I felt it just really grabs you. Like these characters, there's just something about them that's just so personal.
No, I agree, man. It's just freaking great. It's a great movie.
Fabulous. Let's talk spoilers. Now, if you got to here, we haven't spoiled you somehow, and you don't want to know what happens at the end of this, just maybe look at the time codes and skip to the final bits of the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. We're live with spoilers. There is a few. The big one is the canon moments. Plot twist are when you break a canon moment.
Or stop a canon
moment. And this is what the multiversal crew is basically preventing. Is canon moments from being stopped. We didn't know that. It basically causes that world to kind of decompose and collapse on itself.
Collapse in. Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? It feels very, we talked about, reminiscent to like what they're talking about in the MCU with incursions and
for sure
worlds like crashing into each other and stuff. I wonder what point that becomes a thing.
And so we see Miles stop a canon moment
in
Mumbattan against Gwen Stacy's kind of wish. She tries to stop him, but we think it's because she thinks it's too dangerous for him to do what he's about to do. But really, we find out later it's because he was stopping a canon moment and he was going to destroy the world. And so he gets brought back, kind of in this weird like guest pass capacity gets not brought back, brought into this guest pass capacity, the Nueva York.
It's effectively to stop him canceling his own.
Yeah, basically they're pretending like he's joining the crew when really they're there to imprison him to stop him from stopping a potential canon event that's going to happen in his world.
So he's basically deemed too dangerous to be let go free to potentially stop his own dad from dying.
Which isn't exactly explained why.
Why what?
Why he would be more dangerous than anyone else? Like if they didn't say anything, he probably wouldn't have stopped it.
I think it's because he's an anomaly,
which is another spoiler.
So
another spoiler.
The second big reveal is that Miles is technically an anomaly. Now the spider that bites him in the first one has a number 42 on it. Now the interesting thing about that is that spider was brought through from a different universe by Spot, by the character who is prior to being Spot, before he becomes that. Let me remember his name one second.
That doesn't also make sense, does
Jonathan
it?
On. So what happens was when they were trialing the machine in the first place, before starting to help Kingpin, do his master plan, they brought this thing through. Maybe it escaped, who knows? And the spider that was supposed to turn Universe 42's Peter Parker into Spider-Man actually bites Miles. And that's actually foreshadowed in the first one, and I didn't realize this until I watched back. So the scene where the spider comes down and bites Miles, it's actually like glitching as it's coming down. And I didn't realize that, and that's great. I really like that.
It shows it's been planned out. So we find out also that he is an anomaly. So we find out this later, and that he's the reason, as he's trying to escape and all the Spider-Men are chasing him, we find out also that his mentor, Peter B. Parker, his best friend and wannabe girlfriend, everyone knew and was planning on basically finding a plan to stop him from doing this. Question is, what are they going to do with him?
Well, they have to wait.
That's kind of a dark.
They have to wait for his canon moment, then they can let him go back.
Is that what they think? Is that, or were they planning on doing something far worse?
I
know what they do to incursions in Loki.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I would think they would probably let him go back to his timeline, because you find out that every world needs a Spider-Man. That's the point. Yes. Right. Every world needs a Spider-Man, and he is now that world's Spider-Man, so he should go back.
Yes.
But it's a case of he has to have his canon moment. Otherwise, the multiverse might start to break down.
And they're worried that he is going to not do it because of his anomaly state. Exactly. But what we actually find, I think, is hinted at, this is more into Theoryville, is that once he makes the decision not to allow that and try and go pursue basically what he deems is his canon moment, which is, I can do both. I can save all the worlds and I can save my dad, which is kind of like the great subversion of, this whole trope, right? We start to see that another canon moment that's supposed to happen, which is Gwen and her dad changes.
Because
did you notice
decides
that?
To leave the Force.
Yeah, he leaves the Force instead of becoming captain, which is when she would kill.
Yeah.
When she would get him killed, or he would get killed. So Gwen starts to realize maybe something's different. Maybe what he's driving is a different chain of events that would never have eventuated anyway.
Exactly. Maybe there are ways these things don't happen. I mean, maybe her dad does die eventually, but maybe there's different ways to avoid it by opening up to your family and telling them that this is the burden you're carrying. I really like that.
And it was a good subversion of the comic book trope of no one gets to know.
Totally.
So yeah, that's pretty much all the spoilers except for at the very end.
Well, I don't know actually. So what happens? So what happens is then Miles is chased by all the Spider-Mans in that fantastic action scene we were talking about. And he's actually outsmarted all of them because they're effectively flying away on this spacey wacy train type thing into the atmosphere, and he bait and switches all the Spider-Mans, flies off, goes back to their base, and
turns invisible, hides,
manages to get himself sent back to his reality.
Yes.
Where they chase him, and there's this great, interesting chase scene through the streets of New York where he's whipping through. He's trying to get back to his bedroom. He gets back to his bedroom, and it's at this moment you find out something's not quite right.
Not quite right.
So the real big spoiler of this, from my perspective, was, and I've got a question for you, is when he gets back there, he realizes the Spider took him to the universe which the Spider came from. So he got taken to universe 42 where the Spider that bit him came from, not his own
because
universe.
That's a part of his DNA, and the Spider recognized that DNA, not his actual original DNA.
And it's so good, and it's such. And I wondered when you clocked this, because I thought you clocked it before I did.
I thought I clocked it, then I just got confused.
Right.
But I was like, oh, they're in different worlds. Then like Gwen was like, I was like, it looked like they were making her follow him.
But that was the point.
Exactly. So then I pulled back and I was like, well, are they in the same world? And then I was like, what's going on? But we find out that basically Gwen figures this out too.
Yeah.
She figures out, oh shit, and somebody hooks her.
He's gone somewhere.
Yeah, he's gone somewhere else. I forget how she figures it out.
Well, she figures it out by the fact that he's not in his room. He's not there.
So she goes. You're right. She goes to his actual home.
Yeah.
And ends up interacting with his parents. He goes to the world that he was supposed to his original spiders from.
Yeah, it's great.
And discovers
so good.
This is a Spider-Man-less world. What has happened?
And the Miles Morales of that world is actually the Prowler.
Which
was his Uncle Aaron.
It's a very cool reveal. He's a very thug life Prowler.
Yeah, very.
He's got like cornrows.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. It's cool.
I think that Prowler is gonna fuck him up, dude.
You'd think so, but like he's got his little electric powers and stuff. I think he's got a good chance.
I mean, we know he's gonna win, but my point
we'll talk about that in just a moment. The thing I really liked about this whole thing was it was a real rug pull, and it's very, very rare that films get rug pulls right these days. Like usually, especially with Sony films, Christ, it's usually just in the trailer. Well, like you look at the most recent Terminator movie. John Connor was the Terminator in that. And it was just in the trailer. You're like, what? Like, you've just ruined the whole film for me. Whereas this, it's and the fact that the last second as well helps.
It's not even just that. It's not like that's kind of like trailer stuff and what you choose to reveal and not.
Yeah.
It's that it was like totally telegraphed. Like it wasn't a cheap reveal.
Absolutely.
It was telegraphed, and if you go back, you're like, oh fuck, they hinted there. Like if you're a observant viewer and a viewer on rewatch sees many hints and foreshadowings towards the outcome that we get. So when we think about a couple, it's like, they mentioned every world needs a Spider-Man. Now your world doesn't have one.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen there because of that? You talked about how the Spider had the 42 and was glitching in the original. We talk about all sorts of different areas. Like even Gwen, my gut says he's right. Like you get like all these different kind of hints of what's going to happen. So I really liked how well architected it was.
And it really does end on a phenomenal cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that got me about this. And everyone in the movie theater thought it was going to go for another 2 hours. It's interesting because...
Which is so dumb.
There was a rumor probably a year ago that it was going to be 2 parts. And I'm really surprised that managed to be somehow forgotten in the public, eye. Yeah. But it was cool. Really great ending. And where they're all left. So Gwen's going after Miles to try and save him. Spider-Punk gives her his watch, effectively. his transporter thing to other universes, and she's got the old crew back together.
Yeah.
She's got Spider-Ham. She's got Spider-Man Noir. She's got a few
Did
new
she have
ones.
Spider-Ham there?
He was Noir was there
we just
too.
didn't get
Didn't get in Nick Cage.
Yeah.
I think he'll come back for the next one. That's why I said it before.
So
there's a couple of new ones as well.
the cool part about that, my favorite part about when it all went to shit was when Spider-Punk, what does he say before he dips out?
Spider-Punk. He just
like abides. He's like, well done, bud. Like,
my favorite bit is it's like something
because he's anti-establishment.
Yeah, someone says like, you're just an anarchist, and it's like, yeah. It's great.
Yeah,
He is.
he just acknowledges it. But like once he decides to not enlist, like, it's almost like Spider-Punk was like waiting for that to happen so he couldn't.
Yeah,
he's like, I agree, and then he just dips out.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm out. Like he doesn't want to do it anymore. I really like that.
Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
I had a question for you though, based off this ending. So one thing that is very clear and is made clear by Gwen early on in the film is that when a Gwen Stacy gets too close to a Spider-Man, she usually dies. And that's comic book canon for many, many years. Now, I feel a
Spidey
dies.
It could be either one because it's role reversal.
Completely. But I think the whole point of these movies is going to be that these are the peoples who break the canons. These are the ones who prove that Spider-Man is bigger than the canon.
That's where they're headed, yeah.
And my question for you is going to be, do you think Gwen will die or something else?
No, I think they'll live. I think it will be a weird. I don't think that they'll be able to hang out.
Yeah.
I think that the multiverse thing stands.
Well,
right, that's a pretty big tenet.
If she keeps the watch, she can go where she wants.
Yeah, maybe.
The bit is then that leads nicely into the conversation about incursions. So when two universes collide, or someone goes to a universe they shouldn't be in within the MCU, that's when you get these incursions where they crash together and all hell breaks loose.
Yep.
I think that's where it's going. I think we're going to get some sort of live crossover here. It feels very much like this is aiming towards there being some sort of live Miles Morales who's going to end up in the MCU who could end up saving everything.
I don't disagree. Because I think there's also an element of they kind of just restarted Spider-Man in the last movie. And I thought, well, this is exciting. We're going to get like almost like a new version of Spider-Man when no one knows him.
Yeah.
They can kind of restart that. But
we're talking No Way Home.
We're talking No Way Home. They might just delay that because it doesn't feel like Tom Holland's in any rush.
He doesn't want to make another
do
movie.
anything.
Yeah.
And that could pass in 5 years, but right now it's pretty clear he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
So you can insert a Miles Morales
be great
into that, and it fits into the broader MCU of incursions. I kind of agree.
Also,
they literally used the thing from the sacred timeline image from
they
Loki.
did, and I said that to you. Almost, as well. Sorry, the big thing is as well in Secret Wars, the one they're building towards. Miles Morales is a massive part of that comic book. He's huge. He's one of the main characters in it.
What the fuck are they going to do with all these other characters that have nothing to do with the storyline?
Great question.
Because it's all going to be X-Men, all people from the last phase. There's literally none of the characters in this story.
It's a war, though. So a lot of them will die.
Good.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with that. I'm way happy with that.
But you know what I mean? Like, none of these new storylines are at all connected to any of this stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are kind of erroneous. Some of them might not even be on the same Earth we've been watching the whole time. We just don't know it. Like, that's very Rick and Morty. I feel like that would be interesting.
But no, because Wong is involved with, like, the rings.
Okay, so the ones that Wong is not in are not on our Earth. There you go. Let's say that.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's get rid of those goddamn Eternals immediately.
Yeah.
Well, then, let me just give you a couple of quick bits before we wrap up then, DL. I want to mention to you a couple of fun cameos. Things that sort of stand out and were really big for me, and I want to know your thoughts too. Donald Glover gets a live-action role in this. Now, he's actually in the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU as Aaron Davis, who ends up in the Prowler. And in this, it is very clearly indicated that he became the Prowler, and he's locked up in some storage thing within there. It's great. It's a really fun call-out. There's also clips from the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire movies
in the
direct clips from them.
They own it, yeah.
As part of the canon. Love that. Lego Spider-Man, that's cool. And there's actually a really nice meta second reference in that. The voice actor for that is Yuri Lowenthal, who's the Spider-Man from the PS4 5 video games.
Ooh,
I really like that. J.K. Simmons, another link to all these universes. He is back as J. Jonah Jameson. He's in a couple of the universes, especially the Lego one. And my favorite call out, and I think this is in the trailers, favorite call out is when Nueva York's Spider-Man 2099 calls out Earth 999999, which is the MCU, and Doctor Strange for doing his stupid stuff.
What does he say? Is it Earth 99? That is.
Yeah,
I had a feeling it was.
He's a bit like that nerd from Earth 19999 and Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Who's Doctor Strange?"
Sounds like he shouldn't be practicing medicine.
It's great. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's so subtly done. But the best thing is, it is bringing these universes slightly close together. And the final fun cameo I was going to say was, and I didn't actually have any ideas because I've not seen the Venom films. I've seen the first one. Sorry, I've seen the first one.
I haven't seen the second one.
The bit where Spot pops into the real world and he's talking to like an Asian grocer, and she's just
she's from Venom. Yeah.
She's from the Venom movies, and I was like, oh hell, that's who that was.
And she's like, and that's the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're not surprised by this. She's like, nah,
I see this shit all the time. It's
yeah.
great. It's some really great cameos. They're just a couple I really liked. Shall we wrap up with some True or False trivia, DL?
Do it to it.
Let's do it. True or false trivia, DL? Phil Lord and Christopher Miller revealed that they told Sony the sequel would be exactly the same size as Spiderverse. Is it true or is that false?
False.
It's true. It actually ended up having the largest crew of any animated movie ever, with around 1,000 people working on it. Can you believe 1,000 people working on it? Bigger. That's crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Think about having to pay all those people. That's nuts.
I thought it would be. You said it's the same size. I thought it'd be bigger. I didn't know that that was how big the first one was.
This is significantly larger in a good way, and well worth it, I would say. All right, at a runtime of 140 minutes, this is the second longest animated movie to date, only 4 minutes off Consuming Spirits from 2012. Is that true or is that false?
False.
It is false. It's actually the longest of.
I was guess, bro.
It's long. It is a long film. You're in for a ride when you sit down for this.
And it was like ending in a way where I was like, "Fuck, there's still gonna be another hour and a half."
Yeah,
that's what I was like.
Well, everyone thought that, didn't they? Last one. Oscar Isaac is playing his 4th Marvel character in this film. Is that true or is that false?
He wasn't in the MCU before Moon Knight. In
Marvel, not the MCU. Just in Marvel movies.
Oh, then you're right. He's in some other one. You've done this to me before. True.
This is actually a trick question. Yeah. It's actually false. It's actually his 5th.
Oh.
But only by a technicality, right? So you've got... he's Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse.
That's the one I forgot.
2099 Spider-Man Miguel O'Hara. He is 3 characters in Moon Knight. He is Mark Spector, he's Stephen Grant, and he is the third guy who he's shown to be at the very end, which I believe is called Jake Lockley when he's the ex-mercenary.
That's cheating, though. It's all. I actually was going to say he's that one character. That counts as one. He's the X-Men one you talked about, too. Yeah. He is...
Miguel O'Hara.
He's Miguel O'Hara, and then he is Spider-Man that died in the first one.
Is he? No, that's wrong. That's not. That's
pretty
Chris
sure
Pine.
It's his voice.
It's Chris Pine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck.
You were tricked. Ha ha ha. Ultimately, right. I bloody love this film. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was laughing. I was into it. The personalities of the characters really shone through. It was really, really fantastic.
Phenomenal.
DL, John, a couple of bits of correspondence before we wrap up.
Hit me with it.
If you guys want to get in touch with the show, hit us up at podcastassemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Find us on our website, www.podcastassemble.com. We are there. So are our contact details, just like friend of the show, Tom did. Friend of the show, Tom, he is psyched for the Flash movie. He says he's most excited to see Michael Keaton return as Batman. He thinks it's going to go, in quotations, hard. DL, are you psyched by Michael Keaton returning to the Batman role?
You've asked me this before.
I know.
And I'm sure it's good. It's hard for me to believe. He's old.
He is a bit older nowadays. Old. Yeah. He's got a bit of a wig on there as well in this film. Have you seen the wig? It's pretty good wig.
I haven't seen the wig.
It fills out all the bits that aren't filled. Let's say that much.
Why would he have a wig?
Why not? He's Batman.
I don't know.
Batman can afford it.
Yeah.
We also got sent by friend of the show, Charlie. Thank you, friend of the show, Charlie. We really appreciate it. Did we hear about Futurama returning to Hulu getting a date? So apparently, Futurama will return to Hulu on the 24th of July. Did you like Futurama growing up?
Did I like it? I watched it. I enjoyed it when I watched it. it was kind of like The Simpsons for me. It's like when it's on, I watched it. I enjoyed it. I didn't go back to back. Family Guy would be like one where I watched religiously.
There you go.
Didn't watch it, but it was good. It's funny.
I loved
Fry's
Futurama.
not bad, yeah.
I used to fire through those episodes. It's so good. Love it. And guys, again, DL, do you want to let us know where they can hit us up?
They can hit us up at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. Can't believe I got it right.
You got it right for once.
1 for 1.
Guys, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for jumping on. Leave a review. Leave us 5-star review. Thank you.
Please do.
And until next time, Tommy, laters Gators.
Tally ho!